Today I'd like to show you how to set up a tripod for a satellite dish or a TV antenna. And setting up a tripod doesn't require a ton of tools. Right here I have a length of pipe which we'll use to put a satellite dish on. And I have a level and a couple of wrenches, and the tripod is still in the box, so we'll take that out now and get started. And taking it out of the box, it's still all folded up. So we just have to kind of expand the three legs and then make some adjustments on it. On the bottom here, there are 3 feet right here, and these feet are adjustable depending on the pitch of the surface that you're mounting it on. If you're going to mount it on a flat surface and you turn the legs like this, if it was going on a roof though, you'd have to turn these to match the pitch of the roof that you're putting it on. But today we're just going to be mounting it on a flat surface, my wooden deck. So basically the feet will just have to sit like this. Usually they're a little stiff though when you just get this out of the box because they're riveted tight. So the first step is to make sure that the feet are set squarely to the legs of the tripod, or as square as possible, because you can always adjust those later to match the surface that this is going on. Since we're putting this on a flat surface, make them as close to 90 as you can for now, but they're totally adjustable. And then you can extend all the 3 legs of the tripod. So what you want to do is make sure that this center support system right here is expanded like this, where all the legs are fully extended as far as they can go. You don't want to set up your tripod with these like this or like this, because what that does is it makes the tripod base less stable. Having these set up where they're fully extended like that, basically parallel to the ground, that gives your tripod the widest and therefore most stable base. So that's the proper way to do it. This is also the time to make sure all of the feet are set firmly on the surface that you're putting your tripod on. You want them all sitting flat like that. And that's important because that's going to give you the most stable base. And also when you go to add screws or bolts, depending on your setup, your tripod is going to be most stable and sturdy that way. And once you've chosen a location for your tripod, it's best to take the time and fasten it down to the surface you're going to put it on. So I'm just going to be using some screws to hold this down to this wood deck. And once the mast is secured to the surface you're going to mount it to, we can look at the pole or mast clamping system. And the bottom one here you can see has a bottom plate to prevent the post from sliding all the way through, and it has 3 bolts to secure it. And the top one also has 3 bolts, but it is open, of course. If we just look at how this works here, on the inside you can see there's a nut that's held on by a little rubber retaining ring, and inside right inside here there is a bit of a recess for the nut to sit in. And what that does, it actually holds the nut in place and lets you turn the bolt without the nut spinning. Okay, so that makes it easier to tighten up the mast clamps once you get the post installed. But before you can put the post in, you have to back off all of these bolts and make sure there's enough room to slide the post down. So we'll do that quickly and then put the post in. And just be sure that that post is fully seated in the bottom cradle. So with the mast installed, you can tighten all the bolts up by hand, and then we need to use a level to check for plumb. And plumb means that the mast is perfectly level in a vertical position. So it's level up and down, and you want to check it in at least 2 directions, kind of all around. Get it as level as possible, and this will take a little bit of finessing. You're going to have to probably tighten and loosen some of the bolts, and this can take a little bit of time. You're better off to take the time now to make the post as plumb as possible, especially if you're putting a satellite dish on here, it'll make life a lot easier afterwards. But if you can't get it perfect, don't worry about it too much. And you know that your post is level when you hold the level up against the edge of the post like this, and that little bubble there is right in the center between those black lines. The closer you can get it, the better it's going to be. So once the adjustments are all made and you're happy with plumbness or levelness of your post, to secure these bolts, which you've only tightened by hand up until now, what I do is just make sure they're hand tight, and then use a wrench and just give them a bit of a turn, like maybe a half turn or so. You don't want to tighten them too much because you'll end up crushing the metal post in. You don't want to do that. These nuts here on the outside will secure it, so you can just turn these hand tight and then use a wrench to snug those down a little bit, and that prevents this bolt from backing off, and that'll keep the mast in place where you want it to be. So hand tighten, and just again maybe a half turn without crushing the post, and then use that lock nut to keep your post secured. And do that for all 6 of the bolts, 3 on the top and the 3 on the bottom. Okay, so the post is all secure and level, and now it's ready for a satellite dish or a TV antenna.